Welcome back to Conservative Conversations. I'm Reid.
And I'm Frank.
Today we're going to be talking about the 14th Amendment, the economy, and more. But before we get started, I'd like to remind you to follow us on your favorite podcast platform and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you'd like to hear extra content, you can become a paid subscriber through our podcast host, Red Circle.
Okay, so my first topic for today is something that has been very interesting to me. I looked into the Supreme Court. They just had oral arguments maybe a week or two ago on Trump's executive order, which is called, it's very Orwellian. It's called Protecting the 14th Amendment or something like that. Protecting American citizenship, something like that. But what it actually does, if you go and read the executive order, is it's like an undoing of the 14th Amendment. It's like an opposite reading of what the 14th Amendment says. And so, you know, I found the oral arguments very interesting. I was I listened to the whole thing. And
I'm sure that took a while.
Yeah, it did take a while. But I just think one of the things that really struck me was the government's position just seems so flimsy and weird. Some of the arguments that they're making and stuff. And the lawyers who represented some of the several states, in particular, it was the Attorney General from New Jersey, did such a great job. I mean, some of the issues that are going to arise from undoing the 14th Amendment are many, you know, and it's going to cause a lot of issues to the states. So I don't know. I got very interested, and I had to go read the executive order for myself. And when I read it, you know, I read it aloud to you that night. If you remember, I brought my laptop into the kitchen and read the executive order to you. And it's mind-boggling because if you read the 14th Amendment, I don't have the text here in front of me, people. We didn't tell you this, but we're actually on location in Lost Creek, West Virginia here.
Yeah, we're camping.
Coming to you live from Lost Creek. But we don't get very good service up here. I don't have my notes. I don't have, you know, the 14th Amendment text in front of me, but it basically says that anybody born on United States on United States soil is a citizen and has equal rights, you know, as any other citizen. Anybody born here is a citizen. Well, that's pretty black and white, don't you think?
Yeah.
And, you know, Trump's just trying to rewrite this now and say, oh, well, we're going to put special circumstances on it or special considerations for if your mother was an illegal immigrant, your father was an illegal immigrant, it doesn't matter that you were born here. Well, that's not what the 14th Amendment says, is it? It doesn't say if your parents, unless your parents an illegal immigrant.
Right, yeah.
So, I don't know. I actually think I ended up writing an article. It's up on contempconserv.net. And I would encourage you guys to go check it out and read it. It's just like, I just see this as a cautionary tale because I love Trump. I love the man. I love him. And I get, you know, he usually is coming from a place of good when he does these things. It's usually to make a statement, make people start talking about it, make the issue be addressed. But the thing that I think has to be cautioned, you know, I've just been trying to ring the alarm bell about this because even though it's a president that I love and fully support, to just be able to amend, change, undo portions of the Constitution by executive order is preposterous. It's absolutely nuts.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, the Constitution itself spells out how to make those changes, and that's the way we ought to be doing it.
That's right. We need like a 2/3 majority of the several states. That's the easiest way to do it, in my opinion. I mean,
right.
There's other ways too, but I think that's the easiest way is get the states, 2/3 majority of the states. And that's all you need. You know, like I said, there's other ways to do it, but the point is that there's a proper way and there's an improper way. And doing it by executive order is not the proper way to do it. Mm-hmm. You know, I think the 14th Amendment, there's maybe a question. I doubt Trump's the only one who probably wants to address this issue.
Mm-hmm.
There are issues around citizenship in this country.
Right.
So maybe that conversation should be had, whether it's in Congress or it's in the several states' legislatures, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
If those conversations need to be had, if the Constitution needs to be amended, then fine. But you don't do it by executive order. If Trump can undo the 14th Amendment by a stroke of a pen, what can the next president do?
Right.
Could they take away the Second Amendment? Take away your First Amendment? I mean, that's some scary stuff, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So I just wanted to go on record, you know, because it's one of those things. Not only do we call out the loony left, but you have to be vigilant about your own people, too, who you give your support to. And, you know, you can't just blindly support people, you know? Actions have consequences, and you know what I mean? You got to think about future generations and whatever, how the changes are going to affect them, you know? So anyway, that's my piece, you know? I just wanted to go on record and say the Supreme Court's supposed to give their ruling sometimes toward the end of July, at the end of their term. That's what's expected.
Right.
We'll see when the ruling comes out, and I think it's going to be pretty clear. We've been getting a lot of 7-2 judgments recently. Mm-hmm. And I would not be surprised at all if this was a 7-2 decision against the executive order.
Right, that makes sense to me.
And I think the only two people who are going to support it, I'll go on record and say, I think it's going to be, what's his name?
Thomas and Alito?
Yeah, Thomas and Alito. That's exactly the two. Mm-hmm. They'll be for it. Everybody else will be against it.
Yeah.
And thank God, too. That's what I say, because it's preposterous. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think there are definitely some questions that need to be answered about the 14th Amendment and what exactly it means, because I feel like one of the examples I hear is like foreign diplomats. I mean, if one of them happens to give birth while they're over here or traveling or whatever, does that mean their child's now an American citizen? But they're about to be flying back home to their home country, presumably at some point. So I think there's stuff like that could be ironed out in a way to kind of get those questions straightened out. But yeah, like your point, just to sign the order, essentially trying to nullify the 14th Amendment, is certainly not the way to do it. That's like you also said, what one's next? So yeah, I think it is important to call out people where they need to be called out. Like, this certainly isn't the best action Trump has put forward. Well, it's also not the worst in my opinion, but it's certainly not great.
I think there's something to it that's shameful, I think.
Right.
And then, because it's like I said last night when we were talking about it, I think it's terrible, even though he's a great Republican president, I love him, I think he's going to be one of the best presidents in the history books, but to undo, if you remember, the 14th, 15th, and 16th Amendments were all passed at the approximately same time period after the Civil War for a reason. And they were passed by some of the greatest and noblest Republicans that this nation's ever had. 14th, 15th, and 16th, all passed by Republicans,
right,
not Democrats. And I think it's kind of shameful that a Republican president would come along and undo what that Republican legislature did all those years ago by a stroke of a pen. It's ridiculous.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm glad you phrased it that way, the stroke of a pen, because we didn't like Obama using his phone and a pen, and we shouldn't like it when Trump doesn't either, just because he's a Republican.
Well, and here's the other thing I want to point out. It's really the cherry on top. I tried to put it in there. I don't think I highlighted it very well either, but there's something about this that's Orwellian, okay? Because, they have all those groups. It's mostly the left that does this, where they say, usually the name of the group or the name of the program is actually like the opposite of what they're really trying to do, or whatever. You get what I'm saying? They put a nice name on a wacky
Like the Inflation Reduction Act.
Yeah, Inflation Reduction Act, which actually just ballooned inflation even more. Exactly. I mean, that's a wonderful point. But usually it's on their side. And this one, I mean, that it was just a little too on the nose for me, for them to call it protecting the 14th Amendment and American citizenship, when it's actually the opposite. It's an inversion of the 14th Amendment. You're not protecting the 14th Amendment, you're undoing the 14th Amendment. So, I just wanted to call that out in particular, too. It's a very backwards way of messaging what's actually being done. You know what I mean? If you were to just read the headline of that executive order, you'd think, oh, Trump's doing stuff to protect our citizens. No, not really. He's gutting the 14th Amendment.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So anyway, that's just my piece, and I would encourage everybody to go read it. Check out the article on contemporaryconservative.net and check out the executive order, and read the text of the 14th Amendment. Because if you sit down and just compare those, the text of the 14th Amendment, and then go read Trump's executive order, and you tell me one's reading, night and one's reading day, they're opposites of each other. They're not the same. And with the headline protecting the 14th Amendment, that's just kind of silly.
Yeah, I definitely think it'll be interesting to see how the court rules on it and the follow-up from that.
Yep.
Because it'll be coming soon. Like I mentioned, it's definitely something that probably should be, nailed down or fleshed out a little more clearly. Because stuff changes. It's not the same time anymore, and people immigrated differently back then. So I think there's definitely questions to be asked about it, but as your overall point is, it definitely shouldn't be done the way it's being done.
Right.
But my topic I'm going to go with is a little kind of a mix. It's mostly kind of about how the stock market's been down a bit, and it's been sort of a reaction to different things. A U.S. trade court the other day had blocked some of Donald Trump's tariffs, and then like a day later an appeals court unblocked them, so that sent a bunch of uncertainty throughout the markets. And economic data recently has come in mixed, and we're down or up. So I think it's it's kind of still follows what we've been dealing with since Liberation Day. The market's been all over the place. For the most part, it's recovered since the big drop back in April. But we're still working through things because we still got plenty of trade deals to make. Like earlier in May, when the president had announced deals with the United Kingdom, that was some big news for the market. It shot up pretty good then. But since then, we've still been waiting for other deals to happen. And the courts and stuff like that has certainly caused some uncertainty. But I think, as we talked about before, it'll all work out in the end. I mean, Trump's a businessman, and most economics run around business. And I think we just got to give it time. Those deals are going to come. I mean, probably not as quickly as some of us might like. I know one of the big hang-ups is the EU, and that's going to take forever because the EU is not just one country. It's 26 or 7 of them that we all got to try to negotiate with on their own levels. But I'm still pretty optimistic overall about the economy, and it will recover from Liberation Day. It will take off again, as it always does. Usually, it grows more after a bit of a downturn. But I'm still pretty hopeful. I mean, some of the controversy going on is, some people might see it as controversy, some others not, is Donald Trump's disagreement with Jay Powell. He thinks he's dragging his feet on lowering the interest rates. Jay Powell doesn't want to do it. Trump wants him to do it. And I'm sure Trump would like to switch out the other guy, but he can't.
But his tenure's coming up pretty soon, isn't it?
Yeah, I think next year. And I've heard plenty of people talk about, at least like on Fox Business, that they don't think he's even going to make it. He'll end up leaving himself.
I hope so. I heard that rumor too. I've been hoping for it. I don't care for Jerome Powell. I won't get on a soapbox or anything, but I'm ready to see him go. That's for sure. I'd like to see somebody better in there. Somebody like, who's that one, the gay guy who does Trump's numbers right now?
Oh, I don't know.
But I'd like to see somebody like him or Lighthizer or, so I don't know, somebody like that be in there.
Right. Yeah, it'd definitely be an interesting change. I mean, no matter who you put in there, I mean, they claim it's
Independent.
right, independent, nonpartisan, but they're all going to have their own agendas. And you can only just hope that they're doing right by the people, right by the economy.
I don't think they are. I
Well, I
don't
don't
think that any
either.
of them are, but
Because I don't think the Fed should be playing, Wizard of Oz behind the wall or whatever.
yeah, the man behind the curtain.
Yeah, that's a better way to put it. Yeah, manipulating the economy because they just go on its own. I mean,
Yeah,
people,
the invisible hand.
yes,
Mhm.
yeah, right. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't mind seeing somebody else take Jerome Powell's spot, or JJ as Kenny Palkari likes to call him. He's a economics guy that I like watching. But he's one guy. He doesn't like JJ, but he doesn't necessarily agree with Trump that rates should be cut right now. But that's how economics goes. You ask 100 of them, same question, you'll get 101 different answers.
I just think it's amazing that Trump's the one, he proves them all wrong. He says something, and I get it. He says stuff sounds crazy to people.
Sure.
There's lots of examples of it. But why is he always right? That's what I want to know.
Yeah. Who knows?
And it's like the problem that I have with Jerome Powell right now, it's not just Jerome Powell. It's lots of people up there. But Trump has a vision.
Mm-hmm.
And he's only got a limited amount of time.
Right.
And having people drag their feet, whether it's in Trump's head or not, I can see it. I mean, maybe I'm biased. I don't know. But I just think it's ridiculous. And especially with what we've come through, Biden and the pandemic and all of this stuff, you'd think, I mean, if I were Jerome Powell and Trump said lower interest rates, I'd say, yes, sir. How low do you want them to go, baby? Whatever you want, sir. And instead, everybody fights him. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm the one. Okay, that's why we've been doing so well. Have another 9 years, Jerome Powell. Jeez, I don't know. And the other thing is, I doubt he's a bad person.
Right.
Just like, who's the one on the Supreme Court that flip-flops all the, John Roberts.
Yeah.
He's just like that. I think John Roberts is probably a good man. Jerome Powell's probably a good man.
Sure.
That one, who was the very young man who was Speaker of the House for a while? Paul Ryan was a good man.
Yeah.
But when you get into power, it does something to people. You start having people behind closed doors saying, if you do this, we're going to do, if you do X, we're going to do Y to you.
Yeah.
I don't care what the president says. You're not going to touch those interest rates. And that's what I think is messed up.
Right.
The power that they have. And they won't cooperate with anybody. He wants to be, his role. He wants to be in charge of what he does. He doesn't want to answer to the president. I think it's pitiful.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if there was no Fed, we wouldn't have that problem. At least
If
that
there wasn't
problem.
a Fed, we wouldn't have a lot of problems.
Yeah. But like I said a moment ago, I'm still hopeful that the economic situation will improve and we'll start to see these deals being made as they're already being made. And
I think so, too. I'm very hopeful because we got the right guy in office, and he's going to
Right.
keep winning for us.
right? I wish I could play the Trump winning montage, but I'm not Andrew Clavin. I'm going to keep doing that, even though I think it's funny.
I just love it. I mean, if he keeps doing these trade deals and stuff with these countries and getting them to invest in our country and manufacturing, bring jobs here, opening plants and whatnot, like he's been doing. I mean, the proof will be in the pudding,
Right.
and that's what I love. You can have all these talking heads on CNN say whatever whatever, but he really does the job.
Yeah.
Proves everybody wrong. I love it. I love him.
You may even get tired of winning. You'll say, please, please, no more winning. We can't take it anymore. Or too much winning. We can't take it anymore.
I wouldn't ever say that. I think I want to write him a letter and tell him he needs to watch that 14th Amendment stuff, but otherwise, nope. I'm totally happy with everything he's doing.
How can you ever get tired of winning?
I love the man. I still love him to pieces. But anyway, if we're wrapped up on that economy type stuff, I think it's a good segue into what I was going to talk about because, I was just discussing guys who started good, had good prospects, I think are probably good people, but sort of turn when they get a chance of power. And the other person I was going to talk about is somebody who I think has just been outperforming himself over and over. I think he's doing a bang-up job, and that's little Marco Rubio, our Secretary of State. But he's I watched him the other day. He was up before Congress. He gave him 8 hours. That's all he had. He had 8 hours for him that day.
That's long.
It is, and it is a long time, but especially the Democrats were upset because they wanted him all day. They have all these committees and all these members and all this, and they wanted to be able to ask him questions all day long. He only had 8 hours to give them. Well, one of the things that came to light, I hadn't realized exactly, but he's wearing like 6 different hats right now.
Yeah, I've heard that.
He's like the archivist. He's like in charge of the archives. He's Secretary of State. They have just taken over some of the stuff that used to be HHS related. And that's only 3. And I know there's like at least 3 more.
I think one of them is related to the UN because they're still working on getting an appointee.
I wouldn't be surprised. No. But I can't remember. But he's doing all these different hats, and they're all these different jobs, I should say, are performing all these different roles. And I just think he's doing an excellent job. I mean, when he was up there talking, they often like to grandstand. They all have their 5 minutes or whatever, and usually they don't even use their time very well. They're just giving speeches, that'll show up on their website or in their ads for when they run for re-election again. They don't really engage, But they were up there, mostly Democrats, and they start by opining about how, you should give us more time. We wanted you for this committee. We wanted you for that committee. And one of he schooled them. He's like, well, as you pointed out yourself, because they were asking questions, about the archives. They were asking questions about the State Department. They were asking questions about all these different functions. And, one of them even said, I don't know how you're doing all this. Blah, 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 blah. And he's like, well, now you see why I've only got 8 hours to give you today. Yeah. I'm a busy guy. And I just have to say, he's keeping his cool. He's talking to those Democrats the way they deserve to be talked to, but he's also being respectful. He used to be one of them. Right. And so he's not really putting up with their crap. And I just love it. He gets straight to the point. He calls a spade a spade. He doesn't fool around. And I just think he's doing a great job. And I remarked to myself, and I ended up saying it out loud to you, but as I was watching him in that congressional hearing or whatever, I thought, he might be our next president.
Yeah, I've always had some appreciation for Marco Rubio. I mean, he's never been like my absolute favorite, but I've always thought he was pretty decent.
Well, if you remember how I set this up, I think it's amazing to see guys like that because he's just like getting better.
Right, you were talking to me about this a couple of days ago, and I even said he's came a long way from little Marco, little hands Marco, and him giving his speech after, I guess it was Obama's State of the Union, where he got made fun of for having to take a drink in the middle of it.
Yeah. He has come a long way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he would definitely be a good candidate. I mean, if he's at the top of the ticket, he's definitely getting my vote.
Yeah, absolutely. But I just want to say on record that I'm proud of the guy, and I wish more of our Republicans were like him. Because a lot of them, are good people, but then, I don't know, they have enough, and they get out. I'm thinking of guys like Trey Gowdy. Wonderful guy. But, I guess sometimes you just can't hack it for the long term. But look at Marco, just cutting his teeth and growing stronger every day. I just think it's very encouraging to see.
Yeah, for sure. I think so, too. I was getting ready to say something about him. Oh, shoot. Oh, I lost it. Hold on, let me see if I can think of it. What did I say about him? Right. I don't know if he himself handpicked his press secretary for Secretary of State.
Yeah, she's a
Tammy Bruce. Yep, I love Tammy Bruce. She's so cool. But I think she's doing a great job at her spot there, too.
She's one of the most intelligent women that I've ever encountered. She's a very intelligent woman.
Right, yeah. So I hope Marco picked her, because that was definitely a good pick, and I think it reflects well on him in a way.
Well, I'll tell you what, you just sparked a memory for me. Did you see that he just appointed Judge Janine as something?
Yeah.
I can't think of what she just got promoted to. Something in New York.
I think maybe like a district judge or something like that.
I can't think, but I thought that was pretty cool. She's a cool lady, too.
Yeah, she can be pretty funny. I watch her on the 5 sometimes, of course. I
think
guess she won't be there now.
No, she used to have her own television program. It came on late at night. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. Gosh, she had that show.
Justice.
Yes, Justice with Judge Janine.
Judge Janine or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes she can get a little pedantic and a little preachy.
Sure.
But I don't know. She's mom and grandma, so I don't know. Maybe that has something to do with it. But I thought that was awfully cool, too. I thought, who from Fox isn't going to have a job in this administration?
Well, that's all the man watches, Trump. He's either watching Fox with Friends or Fox Business.
I don't really like Fox Business anymore. They have a few personalities, but not as many as they used to.
I mostly watch for the people that they bring on. Like they had Steve Forbes on the other day, and I recognized his voice right away. I was like, I wonder if that's Steve Forbes. It wasn't until he was about to sign himself off of the show that they said his name. I was like, I knew it.
I just think it's funny how stuff works, because I used to really like Neil Cavuto, but then I think I watched too much. Because now, these days, I don't even like hearing his voice. I don't like Neil Cavuto anymore. Something really changed. And I don't know what it is, but I don't like him.
Yeah, he was good on the business and eventually not so good on the republicanism.
Yeah, he really turned me off pretty bad. I don't remember what did it, though, but I stopped watching him.
Yeah, he's not on Fox anymore now, though.
Is he on his own program, network or something? Podcast?
I'm not sure what he's doing. I don't really follow him. Let me check the time real quick. Oh, okay.
There was another one, random weird shout out. I don't know what we're even talking about now, but Frankie something from the Next News Network. I used to watch him all the time too, but now anytime he comes up, I see red, and I start screaming at him. I'm like, get off my phone, you fat Frankie, I don't like you.
Now I'm not familiar with him.
Well, they just do too much. The Next News Network, they put out some good stories, but it's all like clickbait stuff, and they all just are trying to sell you supplements and everything, and it's just ungodly annoying the way they do their programming now. But that's just a random tidbit. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm just about out. Like we mentioned earlier in the show, we're out here camping. We don't got any service, so we're without some notes, and we missed some of the news headlines recently. So we thought we'd bring you what we had at top of our minds. And we certainly hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, listeners, you can be sure to go follow us on your favorite podcast platform and subscribe on YouTube. Just search for Contemporary Conservative and you will find us. You can listen to Conservative Conversations, the show, or our other show, the Wiki Wacky Radio Show. Be sure to check both of them out. And if you would like to hear some exclusive content, you can become a paid subscriber through our podcast host, Red Circle. We would greatly appreciate your support.
That's right. We hope you might encourage a friend or a relative or somebody you know in your life to check us out. Check out our website, our articles that are up there. We have a really cool news aggregator so that you can read headlines from conservative-leaning outlets and not have to read the trash that CNN and MSNBC put out. So yeah, we would just encourage you to encourage your friends and loved ones to check us out and become paid subscribers as well so that they have access to the same bonus and exclusive content that you have access to. And of course, as always, we thank you for listening.